My parents didn't scream, didn't argue, didn't even look ashamed. They just sat across from me and calmly said they would raise my rent unless I became my sister's unpaid nanny. 4 hours every evening, 2 weekends a month. They called it helping family. I called it what it was: coercion dressed up as obligation. Most people break down when their own parents corner them like that. Me. Something inside me crystallized, quiet, cold, final. They thought I'd fold the way I always had. They had no idea I was already planning my exit, or what I'd uncovered the night before. My name is Chloe Bennett, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had built enough distance from my family to breathe. Not escape, just enough space to feel like my choices were mine. 6 years ago, when I moved into the small apartment my parents owned in the suburbs of Connecticut, it felt practical. Affordable rent, close to work, my own quiet corner of the world. I furnished it piece by piece: a reading chair near the window, the soft rug I saved for the antique mirror I found at a weekend market. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Or so I thought. Growing up, my family always presented itself as warm and functional holiday photos lined up along the hallway, matching sweaters at Christmas, my mother insisting tradition mattered more than convenience. But beneath that curated image lived an unspoken hierarchy. Serena, my older sister, was the one gravity bent toward, the one who needed more support, more attention, more understanding. When she married Ethan and had 3 kids, Ruby, Liam, and baby Ellie, the entire house rearranged itself around her life, like planets around the sun. I didn't resent her. Not really. I just learned early that in our family I was the capable one, the one expected to adjust, compromise, absorb. If Serena needed help, I gave it. If my parents needed a favor, I rearranged. If a boundary felt uncomfortable, I swallowed it. It was easier that way. But the thing about swallowing too much for too long is that eventually something catches in your throat. In the weeks before that family meeting, I had sensed a shift, a certain urgency in my mother's messages, the way she emphasized family responsibility in passing comments. Serena sounded exhausted every time we spoke. Her voice stretched thin as she talked about sleepless nights and Ethan's work trips. Still, I didn't imagine they were preparing to pull me back into the gravitational field I had spent years stepping away from. My job, ordinary by some standards, but hard-earned by mine, finally felt stable. I'd climbed through long hours, difficult clients, and endless reports to become the financial analyst I was proud to be. I wasn't wealthy, but I was steady, independent, on track. And that mattered to me more than anything. So when the email arrived, titled Family Meeting, Mandatory, I assumed it was another one of my mother's dramatic attempts to gather us for something trivial, like the time we debated kitchen cabinet colors for 45 minutes. I didn't know, walking into that house, that everything I thought was mine, my space, my plans, my peace, was about to be leveraged against me. The minute I stepped into my parents' living room, I knew something was off. My father was pacing near the fireplace, hands clasped behind his back, the way he did when delivering bad news. My mother sat perfectly upright on the edge of the couch, ankles crossed, lips tight. Serena was in the armchair, twisting her wedding ring, a habit she'd had since high school whenever she felt guilty or overwhelmed. "You're late," my mother said the moment I walked in. "It's 11:58, I replied. The meeting was at noon. She waved off my words as if time itself bent to her expectations. My father gestured to the love seat. "Sit. We need to talk." The room felt heavy, the kind of silence that makes your skin prickle. I sat, placing my purse beside me, waiting for whatever performance this was. Serena didn't look up. That was the first red flag. My mother inhaled sharply. "Your sister needs help." Serena's shoulders tensed. "I'm drowning, Chloe," she whispered. "Keith's gone so much. The kids. It's just too much." I nodded slowly. "Okay. What kind of help are we talking about?" My father stepped in. "As a family, we support each other. Your mother and I think the best solution is for you to take on more responsibility with your nieces and nephew." "Responsibility," I repeated. My mother leaned forward, producing a folded sheet of paper from the coffee table as if she'd spent hours preparing it. "A simple schedule," she said. "Just until things calm down." She read it aloud like a contract. "Pick up Ruby at 3:15. Pick up Liam at 3:30. Bring them home. Supervise homework. Prepare dinner. Stay until Ethan returns, usually around 7. And we'll need you at least 2 weekends each month for full-day support." My mouth went dry. "You're asking me to babysit every day." My father's voice hardened. "We prefer the term helping family." "I work until 6 most days," I said. "Sometimes later." "You can adjust," he replied simply. "Your job shouldn't come before family." There it was, the dismissal, the minimization of everything I'd built, everything I'd sacrificed. "And if I don't adjust?" I asked quietly. My parents exchanged a practiced glance. My mother folded her hands in her lap. "Then we'll need to reconsider your current rent. $800 is far below market value. If you refuse to help, we will raise it to a fair price." My stomach dropped. "Are you threatening to raise my rent unless I become Serena's unpaid nanny?" My mother didn't even blink. "We're asking you to contribute. If you won't, then yes, your rent will reflect market rate." Serena finally looked up, eyes pleading. "I really need you." And something inside me snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, like a thread pulled too tight for too long. I stood. "I need time to think." My father shook his head. "We need an answer today." "You'll have it," I said, walking out the door. But it wouldn't be the one they expected. The moment I got back to my apartment, I closed the door and leaned against it, letting the silence settle over me. My parents' voices still echoed in my head, calm, certain, entitled, like they had already decided my life for me. For a few minutes, I just stood there staring at the familiar shapes of my living room. The soft rug, the reading chair by the window, the mirror that caught the late afternoon light. All the little things I'd chosen carefully, believing they belonged to me. Now I knew they were leverage, not stability, not support. Leverage. That realization burned. I sat at my desk and pulled out my lease. I'd signed it years ago without thinking much about it, trusting that my parents wouldn't weaponize it. But as I read through every line, my heartbeat shifted from panic to something slower, colder. They couldn't raise the rent immediately. They couldn't raise it more than 10% per year. They were legally required to give 90 days written notice. Every threat they made in that living room a bluff. The anger that hit me then wasn't explosive. It was clarifying, sharp, controlled, the kind of emotion that makes everything suddenly make sense. I opened my laptop and began searching for apartments. Within hours, a real estate agent sent me listings that were within my budget. By the next morning, I'd taken 3 vacation days from work and scheduled tours. On Wednesday afternoon, I found a renovated industrial-style apartment 20 minutes away. Exposed brick, tall windows, a space that felt honest, untouched by expectation. I applied on the spot. By Thursday morning, the approval came through. I didn't tell anyone, not a word. Thursday night, I started packing. I worked deliberately, room by room, folding clothes in silence, wrapping dishes in paper, labeling boxes with calm handwriting. The apartment slowly transformed into a half-empty shell. The more I packed, the more I felt like I was reclaiming something I hadn't realized I'd lost. On Friday, I drafted my 60-day notice exactly as the lease required. No emotion, no explanation, just facts. I printed it signed, slid it into an envelope, and sent it by certified mail. By Saturday morning, movers arrived right on time. Rain pattered softly against the windows as they carried out my furniture, my books, my carefully chosen decor. I walked through the apartment one final time, cleaning the counters, smoothing the wrinkles from the bedspread, making sure everything was spotless. If my parents wanted to weaponize this space, they wouldn't get a single excuse to make it messy. When the last box was loaded, I placed the keys on the counter, stepped outside, locked the door, and slid them through the mail slot. By the time my parents realized what was happening, I was already gone. My phone lit up before I even finished unpacking my first box in the new apartment. 10 missed calls, then 16, then 23. The voicemail icons stacked like warning signs. I didn't press play. I didn't need to hear my mother's clipped panic or my father's anger disguised as authority to know what they'd say. They'd gone to the apartment. They'd found it empty, and now they were spiraling. By Sunday afternoon, I'd blocked their numbers. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful, not yet, but it was mine. On Tuesday morning, a certified letter arrived at my office. They'd tracked down my workplace. My chest tightened as I opened it, half expecting threats, half expecting guilt. It was both. A demand that I return home immediately to discuss the family situation, followed by a vague statement about necessary legal steps if I didn't respond. I took the letter straight to Richard Cole's office. He read it once, sighed, then read it again more slowly the way lawyers do when something is both ridiculous and predictable. "They don't have a case," he said. I figured. "But they're escalating. So we'll respond." His letter went out 2 days later. A perfectly measured warning that all communication must go through him, that any attempt to harass or retaliate would be documented, and that no legal claims against me had standing. And just like that, the calls stopped. The silence this time felt different. Not mine, theirs. But chaos has a way of seeping through cracks. A week and a half later, my Aunt Veronica called. I stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. "They're losing it," she said before I could speak. "Your mother is furious. Your father is... I don't know." Embarrassed, confused. Both. I didn't say anything. I didn't owe her a defense. "They hired a nanny," she added quietly. "It's costing them real money." There it was. The chaos. The consequence. Still, the story wasn't over. 2 weeks later, Richard called me into his office. "Your parents have requested a mediation session," he said. "It appears they've also retained counsel." Of course they had. My parents were the type who hated losing more than they valued being right. I could have refused. But a part of me wanted everything on record. I wanted the truth laid bare, not just in my memory, but in a room where no one could rewrite it later. The mediation was scheduled for a cold November morning at a business center near downtown. I arrived early, dressed in a dark navy suit, hair pulled back, hands steady. Richard walked beside me with the calm confidence of someone who'd handled far uglier family disputes. Inside, my parents sat at one side of a long table, their lawyer Patricia Winters beside them. My mother's face was pale. My father's jaw was tight. Neither looked at me. The mediator, an older man named Donald Hughes, cleared his throat and explained the rules. No interruptions, respectful language, everyone would have time to speak. My father jumped in first. "We're here because our family has been fractured over a misunderstanding." A laugh rose in my throat, sharp and humorless, but I swallowed it. My mother tried to soften her tone. "We simply asked Chloe to support her sister during a difficult time. We didn't expect her to flee." "Flee?" I repeated, my voice even. "I followed the legal terms of my lease and moved to a new apartment. We offered affordable housing," my father snapped. "And in return, I cut in you threatened to raise my rent, unless I became my sister's unpaid nanny." Patricia shifted forward. "My clients regret how that conversation came across." "No," I said. "Let's not rewrite it." They said the words, "Raise your rent unless you help." They said it calmly, proudly, as if it were reasonable. My mother's shoulders tensed. We were trying to help Serena, and you decided my life, my time, my job were all negotiable, so hers wouldn't be. You weaponized rent. You used the apartment I cared for and paid for as leverage. You didn't ask me to help. You told me I owed it. Silence spread across the room, thick and uncomfortable. Even Patricia seemed unsure how to proceed. Richard leaned forward. "My client is willing to maintain a relationship, but only if boundaries are respected. No financial threats, no childcare obligations, no interference with her housing or career." My father's face reddened. "So that's it. You expect us to accept these demands?" I held his gaze. "I expect you to accept that I am an adult, and that coercion is not family." My mother's eyes filled with a mix of anger and wounded pride. "We just wanted you home." "This wasn't about home," I said quietly. "This was about control." Donald interjected gently. "Let's focus on a possible resolution." It took another 30 minutes of back and forth, my parents shifting between defensiveness, justification, and reluctant acknowledgement, but eventually they agreed. They would respect boundaries. They would stop using financial leverage. They would not pressure me into childcare. And any future issues would be approached with consent, not expectation. Patricia drafted a short memorandum. We all signed it. It wasn't legally binding, but it was a record, a line drawn in ink. As we gathered our things, my mother finally looked at me. Really looked. Her voice cracked. "I didn't realize you felt trapped." "You didn't need to realize," I said. I told you for years in 100 ways. You just never listened. My father spoke last. So, what happens now? I took a slow breath. Now you deal with the chaos you created, and I live my life. Richard placed a hand on my arm, guiding me toward the door. The hallway outside was quiet, but my heartbeat steadied with every step. This wasn't victory. This wasn't revenge. This was reclamation. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, undeniably free. The first morning in my new apartment felt almost unreal. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, warming the exposed brick, catching on the steam rising from my coffee. For the first time in weeks, my shoulders weren't tense. No one was waiting for me to fix their life. No one was timing when I walked through the door. The quiet didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt earned. Work fell back into its own rhythm. Without the constant emotional tug-of-war, my focus sharpened. My manager even commented that I looked lighter, which made me laugh because I finally understood what it meant to not carry someone else's expectations. Meanwhile, the consequences of my family's ultimatum settled exactly where they belonged. Serena hired a full-time nanny, someone qualified, someone fairly paid. My parents helped cover the cost, which according to my Aunt Veronica, became a monthly reminder of the moment they'd pushed too far. I didn't gloat, not even privately, but there was a certain poetic symmetry in watching them absorb the responsibility they tried to dump on me. When I eventually met Serena for coffee, the conversation felt human again. No manipulation, no desperation, just two sisters trying to rebuild something honest. I didn't volunteer to babysit. She didn't ask, and that alone showed how much had changed. Dinner with my parents came weeks later at a neutral restaurant. It was awkward at first, but civil, careful, almost fragile. They asked about my new place, my work, my routine. I answered, but with the confidence of someone who finally understood her own worth. Our relationship wasn't healed, not fully, maybe never, but it was no longer built on obligation, and that was enough. Looking back, disappearing wasn't an act of rebellion. It was an act of survival. Setting boundaries didn't destroy my family. It revealed what was already broken and what could finally be rebuilt. I learned that love without respect is just control dressed up as tradition, and no one deserves to live under that weight. If you've ever felt cornered by the people who were supposed to protect you, know this: choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. If this story resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. And make sure to subscribe. There are more stories ahead, and you don't want to miss the next one.